Offline handwritten Hindi word recognition. Abstract: there are few approaches to character distinguishing proof. Basic stages of character recognition incorporate pre-processing, segmentation, features extraction and classification of features. A few classification techniques have been talked about in this paper, such as neural network, system vector machine, SVM, coordinating models, etc. The issue of character affirmation has been turned out from different viewpoints. One of the foremost well-known ways is as character grouping. Character course of action could be a zone wherein a system can recognize the assorted information boosts in an imperative gathering as shown by the highlights show within the data character. In this paper we investigate the Hindi offline written by hand word acknowledgement, HWR, that we are making. In the HWR, we utilize OCR Framework. OCR is the strategy of taking pictures of letters or typhoid content and interpreting them into data that the computer can effectively translate in Convolutional Neural Network, CNN. The proposed framework has been prepared on tests of a sizably voluminous set of database pictures and tried on tests pictures from utilizer characterizes information set, and from this try we accomplished exceptionally tall apperception comes about. Keyword: HWR, OCR system, feature extraction, Python, CNN. Introduction. Offline penmanship acknowledgement includes recognizing the pictures of a word that has as of now been composed, checked, or recorded pictures employing a camera. Recognizing handwritten Hindi characters consequently could be an exceptionally troublesome errand since characters are composed in numerous ways, such as bends and cursively composed characters, which are distinctive completely different ways. OCR is the way toward taking pictures of letters or typhoid substance and changing over them into information that a machine can without a doubt translate. Manually written acknowledgement insinuates to the way toward deciphering pictures of physically composed, typhoid, or printed digits into an arrangement comprehended by the client for the reason for changing, ordering/looking, and a diminish absent measure. Physically composed affirmation system is having its importance and it is versatile in several areas. For case, web-based penmanship affirmation on PC tablets, see postal locale on mail for postal mail orchestrating, preparing, bank checksums, numeric segments in structures topped off by hand, etc. 2. OCR system and CNN. A. OCR system. Automatic text apperception utilizing OCR is the method of changing over a picture of textual documents into its digital textual equivalent. The advantage is that the textual material may be altered, which something else isn't conceivable in scanned documents during which these are image files. The subsequent steps are followed within the design of the proposed OCR framework. Pre-processing, segmentation, feature extraction, classification. Pre-processing. The pre-processing arrange produces a straightforward archive inside the sense that the foremost shape data with negligible clamor and greatest compression on the normalized picture is gotten. After securing the picture, it'll be handled through the grouping of handling steps. Noise removal, reducing noise from image. In online there's no noise, hence there's must not eliminate noise. But in offline the noise could also become from sort or from the gadget which captures the image. Normalization, standardize the textual style measures inside the picture. This issue shows up clearly inside the written by hand content since the textual style measure isn't confined when utilizing handwriting. Thinning algorithm will be parallel or consecutive. The parallel is connected to all the pixels simultaneously. Consecutive look at pixels and changing them wagering on the going before handled result. Segmentation. Inside the segmentation organize, a picture comprising of a grouping of characters is reduced into sub-images of a tactful character. This stage comprises of fragmenting the pre-processed and clean record into its sub-components. Segmentation may be exceptionally vital stage, since of the acknowledgement of manually characters straightforwardly influenced by how the partition of lines into words into letters/characters can be viably achieved. Feature extraction. Extraction of features from the sectioned individual characters may be a very vital step of the acknowledgment framework, since highlight sets play one of the foremost vital parts in an acknowledgment framework. A great highlight set speaks to specifically the characteristics of a course, which makes a difference to segregate against other classes, whereas the characteristics of lesson components inside a lesson stay the same. The fundamental purpose of this phase is to choose the most excellent include set, which minimizes the blunder of acknowledgement with an ideal set of features. Classification. The backpropagation algorithm is employed for classification or identification. The classification is apportioned on the thought of the extricated highlights. For the inceptive classification of characters, considered three highlights are as follows. Projection histogram supported pixel value. Distance supported the spatial position of the pixel projection histogram to. B. CNN architecture. CNN may be a bunch of three fundamental layers, which are convolution layer, pooling layer or subsampling layer, and classification layer or thick layer. The to begin with step required to start the distinguishing proof is to separate a hand-indicted character picture for assignment. The input layer will carry the crude pixel values of the winnowed picture of tallness and width 32x32 for Hindi. At that point it passes the input picture to the convolution layer. The obligation of this layer is to include a subjective number of channels to continue along the stature and width of the picture to abdicate an included outline. A channel will be an arrangement of numbers called parameters or weights. An audit weights learned from the distinctive layers of the proposed expanded picture platform. A work is gotten by sliding through the channel through the picture tallness and separate, and the DAB estimation item between the volume of the input and the channel amid the front pass. We have accomplished a character 32x32 in Hindi. The yield of the primary convolutional layer insights 4 highlighted maps in Hindi and changes it to another layer through a differentiable work. Finally, the yield is of 3D 32x32x4, which is changed to begin with pooling layer, where the picture is downsampled along the spatial measurements, coming about in a yield volume of 28x28x4 for Hindi 3. Background. Nisha Vasudeva etal 2012. The development of AI has driven to the development of numerous shrewd gadgets. The foremost imperative challenge inside the field of picture handling is to recognize archives in both written by hand and printed groups. Character acknowledgement is one of the biometric highlights frequently utilized for the confirmation of both a person and an archive. OCR assorted report picture examination was inspected with a modern picture containing either machine-printed or translated substance as a commitment to the OCR programming engine, and changed over into a balanced machine-comprehensible computerized substance course of action. For the calculation of the include, we connected a include extraction procedure. Extricated character highlights are pixel rules for his or her neighboring pixels. And these inputs give a neural backspreading organize with a covered up and yield layer. Backspread neural arrange for redress acknowledgement where mistakes are made strides. Sonal P. Ajmir etal 2015. The concept of character recognition has gotten an amazing bargain of consideration, much obliged to its numerous applications, like filling out different shapes, in printed postal addresses, multiple choice questions in a few examinations, and so on. This paper may be a well-defined consider of the written by hand acknowledgement of Devanagari characters. It characterizes organized strategies for the ubiquity of written by hand characters for the extraction of highlights. Character acknowledgement may too be of two sorts, that are offline and online character acknowledgement. This will indeed be classified as transcribed and printed character acknowledgement. Compared to the notoriety of printed characters, there are more applications for manually written character acknowledgement. For methodology. 1. NIST dataset. This dataset was made by blending distinctive sets interior the introductory national established of measures and innovation, NIST, sets, so on have a preparing set containing a few sorts and shapes of manually written digits, since the NIST set was separated into those composed by high school understudies et.al. composed by the office workers. Indeed, TensorFlow and Keras authorize us to purport and download the NIST dataset straightforwardly from their API. Consequently, I'll commence with the taking after 2 lines to purport TensorFlow and Nistha dataset beneath the Keras API. 2. Python. Python is broadly utilized for information examination, but the information does not continuously need to be within the organize required. In these occasions, we change over the text document to the filtered report for a clearer investigation of the comes about. Python incorporates a part of libraries to do this, libraries like Keras, Pandas, NumPy. Libraries that we used: Keras, TensorFlow. 2.1 Keras. Keras is a high-level neural networks API planned with a center on permitting quick experimentation. The mystery to doing great investigate is to be able to switch from thought to result with the slightest conceivable delay. Keras has the taking after primary characteristics. Allows the same code to run seamlessly on a CPU or a GPU. User-friendly API that creates it simple to rapidly test profound learning models. 2.2 TensorFlow. TensorFlow serving could be a flexible, high-performance machine learning model serving system which is intended for production environments. TensorFlow serving allows the deployment of recent algorithms and tests, while retaining the identical application architecture and APIs. 3 methods. In the offline handwritten Hindi word recognition, we have used 2 approaches. K-mean clustering. Support vector machine. 3.1 K-mean clustering. K-mean clustering is one of the foremost capable and common unsupervised machine learning calculations. The K-mean calculations decides the K number of centroids, and in this way allots each information point to the closest cluster, hence keeping the centroids as little as possible. For the handling of scholastic information, the K-means calculation starts with an essential gather of arbitrarily chosen centroids, which are utilized as the beginning points for each cluster, and after that performs emphases, dreary, calculations to optimize the area of the centroids. Stops building and optimizing clusters when either the number of emphases indicated has been achieved. STEP1, Import Libraries. We'll import the following libraries into our project, as you can see from the above code. A. Pandas to read and write tables. B. NumPy for effective computations. C. Matplotlib for data visualization. STEP2, Generate aleatoire data. Here's the code for generating some random data in a space of 2 dimensions. STEP3, Using scikit-learn. We will use some of the functions available in the scikit-learn library to process the data generated at random. 3.2 Support vector machine. Support vector machines, SVM, are a bunch of directed strategies of learning utilized for classification, relapse, and distinguishing proof of exceptions. Support vector machines have the preferences of efficient in spaces with awesome measurements. Still fruitful in circumstances where the number of tests is more prominent than the number of estimations. Uses in choice work a subset of preparing focuses. SVM can be of 2 kinds, linear SVM and nonlinear SVM. Linear SVM is utilized for directly distinct information, meaning that on the off chance that a dataset can be separated into 2 classes employing a single straight line, it is called straightly divisible information, and classifier is called a direct SVM classifier. Nonlinear SVM is utilized for nonlinearly partitioned information, which implies that on the off chance that a dataset cannot be classified employing a straight line, that information is alluded to as nonlinear information and the classifier utilized is alluded to as a nonlinear classifier. Hyperplane, a few line/decision boundaries can be utilized to recognize the bunches in n-dimensional space, but we got to discover the leading choice boundary to assist characterize the information focuses. This best restraint is known as SVM hyperplane 4. 3.3 Random forest classifier. Random forest could be a directional learning calculation both for classification and relapse. However, it is used mainly for classification problems. Be that as it may, it is utilized basically for classification issues. Since we know a forest comprises of trees and more trees implies more sound forest. It is an ensemble approach that's superior than a single choice tree, and by combining the result it diminishes the overfitting. Random forest algorithm function. Using the taking after steps, we are able to get at the workings of the random forest algorithm. Phase 1 to begin with, choose the random tests from a given dataset. Phase 2 following, this calculation will make a choice tree for each test. At that point each choice tree will get the forecast result. Phase 3, voting for any anticipated result will be done in this stage. Phase 4 inevitably, choose the result of the foremost voted prediction as to the ultimate result of the prediction. The following diagram shows its operation. Figure 5. Random forest classifier shows its operations. Ref No. 1. 2. Technology used. K-mean clustering. Support vector machine. Parameter. Preprocessing. Segmentation. Feature extraction. Classification. Handwritten character recognition. OCR system feature extraction on SVM. Year 2014. 2012. Findings. The address of Hindi character acknowledgement is tended to effectively with the utilize of K implies. The even and vertical angle for the location of edges by implies of a manual canny edges finder and the vertical and flat projection of each character are utilized to coordinate the other characters and their classifications. The most perfect way for the recognizable proof of handwritten characters is the combination of the SVM classifier and the inclining include extraction. Table 1. K-means clustering and SVM4. V implementation and result. The Python libraries NumPy, Panda, Matplotlib, Scikit-learn, Keras, are utilized for tall execution and logical computation. The proposed work considered 166 diverse character classes, which comprises 32 character classes for Hindi. After resizing the pictures, the dataset was split into 70% pictures to be utilized for preparing and 30% pictures forest and approval. As input picture shapes, pooling techniques, and optimizer capacities on the demonstrate. The learnable channels of CNN are analyzed such as input picture shapes, pooling procedures, and optimizer capacities on the show. The apperception exactness has identified when the demonstrate contains 4 convolutional layers, with 0 padding and max pooling by 2 plenarily associated layers. We have created the Nistha dataset that is as shown below. 6. Conclusion. Various papers have been distributed the region of optical character acknowledgement framework methods. We moreover learned from these articles that the different approaches 2 different ways of recognizing the character. In a organize, a printed report or a checked picture is changed to an ASCII character that can be recognized by a computer. Coordinating a format is the strategy of looking for a sub-picture position that's a reference. The most perfect way to recognize handwritten characters is to combine SVM classifier with the inclining highlight extraction handle. G. Neural systems, and their application for character acknowledgement. By segmentation prepare, able to isolate the touching characters and evacuate Schreiereich from the term. It is additionally accepted that K-means have a genuine degree of text style autonomy, which is aiming to diminish the scale of the preparing database.